Hey folks, welcome back to DIY guitar making. I am in the middle of a special workshop here with two American badasses, which we are going to, I'm going to leave that as a little cliffhanger and explain the special program that we're doing here with these two guys a little bit later. But for now, I really just want to spend today carrying you guys around with me and walking you through some of the things that we'll be doing on the very last day of our 8-day workshop. Well, we finished off last night putting on the bridge. We used a Fox style bridge clamp that you can see right here. What I love about these clamps is you can very easily access all areas of the bridge after you clamp it down to clean up the glue squeeze out. Also, if you're in a rush, you can continue to work on the fretwork and other parts of the guitar while this is curing, which you would not be able to do if you had sort of the typical glue job for the bridge, which involves a bunch of bridge clamps coming in through the sound hole and sort of getting in your way of doing all your fretwork. All right, so we're gonna go ahead, guys, and remove these bridges. All right, Benjamin Channels, what are we doing?
All right, so I am nipping off the end of the frets, the overhang from the wire here. As you can see, got a little crazy with some of these. So I've found that I've had to actually cut one just a little bit further out so that I can get all the way to the fretboard. So we're just doing that, and we're just we'll do one side and then we'll work on the other side. But the most important thing here is we're doing our absolute best not to scratch the sound box that we put so much work into up to this point.
Beautiful. My daughter can burp on command.
That's awesome.
It's pretty impressive, actually. I don't think I learned to do that until I was a lot older. Okay, so what are we doing right now? Like we saw, we just nipped back the really sharp ends on here, but actually they're still very, very, very sharp, and you would totally shred your hands if you tried to pick this thing up. So we're going to start by simply filing back these ends. Really, all you need to do this is a single cut file. You don't need this silly block from Stu Mac. You're going to take this block, and starting on the tongue here, I always like to start at the back 4 frets, because if you start too far forward, you're just not getting enough file crossing these frets. And if you start too far back, away from the back 4, you're going to end up accidentally rounding over this little design feature back here. So you want to start right about there. And the first pass is going to be very rough because all of these ends are sticking up at slightly random places. And then the second pass feel quite a bit smoother. So you just got to be careful on that first pass.
Are you using your thumb to hold the file in place across the fret?
Actually, yes. I'm really glad you brought that up, because that's basically the most important thing here to keep this stable is to wrap your thumb around the tool, and literally my thumb rides across the fret wire. This part of my hand is bumping along the frets. In other words, I'm anchored through this part of my hand down to the fretboard. Otherwise, if you just kind of held it like this, literally the first pass you do like that, you'll figure out why not to do that. And most likely at some point, one of you guys or both of you guys will do this, and it'll bite you. What's going to happen is immediately it's going to pop up and skip across the fretboard, might even hit your hand. I've seen people cut open their thumbs because they're holding the fretboard right here, and it pops up and hits their thumb. So anyway, the file really wants to pop up because it's riding along these metal points on a very narrow surface. So it wants to jump up, and if you simply anchor your thumb down and push down slightly, it can't jump up. So here, I'll show you now, and just take a close look at that thumb. Just like that. Ready, Ben? And we'll just go until the fret tangs, which is that bottom portion of the T, the part that's embedded in the fretboard, until those are flush with the side of the fretboard.
You can take this all the way down to the wood?
Yes, we're going to take it all the way down to the wood, and you don't have to be afraid of damaging the fretboard or changing the shape of your taper once you get down to it. Once you start hitting ebony and metal at the same time, this virtually stops working. So you can take some extra passes just to be sure you've gotten all the fret tangs in without fear of changing anything. And once we have the tangs pretty well tucked in, we're going to switch to the bevels. All you have to do here is the same thing we've been doing, but simply hold this at a little bit of an angle. A 35-degree angle is sort of what you're aiming for. Don't worry, precision is not really all that important here, because what's going to happen is as you make the first couple of passes, you'll see how your bevels are developing, and it's real easy to just adjust the angle. You're naturally going to do it anyway as you go until you get a bevel that looks appropriate. But really the purpose of the bevels in the end is simply for a better feel when you're playing the guitar. You don't necessarily, as you're sliding your hand up and down the neck, you don't want to feel the frets so much. We're going to tilt this up a little bit like this. Once again, the very first pass is going to be real rough as it starts to cut in and create that first initial plane. So I'm going to start on the back four, just like before. And wrap that thumb. Once again, wrapping the thumb is the most important thing. And actually, the way the camera is, if one of you guys, let's get one shot from here so that the people back home can see the wrapped thumb. And so some people like more of a bevel on there so that they feel the frets even less, particularly electric guitar players. But some people, like myself included, I'll actually go for relatively steep bevels so it doesn't eat up as much fret space, simply because I like, for myself, to build a fingerstyle guitar that has a little bit more width between the strings. Okay, so you play classical guitar, and so you probably value that just like I do as well, that space between the strings so you can finger pick a little bit more easily. Okay, so right now Ben is deburring his fret ends. So when you bevel the fret ends, that isn't the last say in making these smooth, making them feel good. You want to take a file with a safe edge. Okay, so this file has a slightly rounded edge, which that's your safe edge in this case. And then I've put Sharpie on the dangerous edge so that Ben always knows to keep that edge up. Otherwise, if you have that edge down, you're going to be leaving little nicks in your fretboard as you deburr the ends, and that's no good. So keep the red side facing up, and Ben will do just fine here. And let's see, can you show me the stroke there? Because there's a definite technique to this.
Yeah, sure. So I'll do it off the 14th fret. I was working on that one, and that just takes a little shorter strokes because I have the sound box that is in the way, but just to show you the technique.
So what he's doing is he's rolling the file so that it starts at the base and then meets the crown, and just going from side to side. And really the most important thing is to use no pressure here. You're not trying to grind a secondary bevel into this. You're really just deburring that edge. So it's very light. Alrighty, I'll let Ben have at it. All right, so what we're gonna do first is just trap our feeler gauge in here. So this feeler gauge represents our increment, which simply means the depth that we're going down with each pass. We're not trying to get there all at once. This is a 1/4 inch deep saddle slot, which is a little deeper than most guitars have. So we want to creep up on it about 20 thousandths, more like 30 thousandths of an inch at a time. So now we can go ahead and plug this in. Sometimes it's on when I plug it in, so make sure it's not touching anything. All right, so I'm gonna start at the back of the cut and then just go all the way through to the front side. And it's as simple as that. At this point, you might as well set your depth again. You're already bottomed out. There we go. Pull that back out and we're ready to go for the next pass. Now, you can either start back here, plunge down and pull through like I did there, or with this pass, I think it's equally as, it's really just a different feel. It's equally as valid to start here where we're already off of the bridge and fully down at depth. See, I've dropped it down to depth and just run it back. And once again, I set the next depth, run it back. Okay. That's it. So Ben, can you tell me a little bit about your eyewear this afternoon?
Yeah, I think anytime that you're working on guitars, if you look good, you feel good, and this is just a feel-good activity in life.
I love that.
And so it's important to me that I wear my prized pink plastic glasses that not only protect my eyes and my vision, but are also stylish.
You are.
It's who I am, so I feel pretty good about it.
All right, so at this point, you guys have determined the starting action that we're going to cut this at, and they have drawn their radius, their 20-inch fretboard radius, onto the saddle, and then we sanded that back. Now at this point, we just have to crown the saddle, and the reason why that's important is because if you just have a flat saddle like this, the string is going to ride up to meet the saddle, and then somewhere along its 1/8 of an inch thickness, it's going to reach a peak and break wherever this is highest. And we don't want that point to be random. We want that point to be somewhere right down the center, okay? Because that is actually the intended end to our scale length plus compensation. Now, technically, there's fully compensated saddles, and this is not a fully compensated saddle. So in this case, the break point will be just right down the center. On a fully compensated saddle, you actually take the time to file little ramps, particularly into the B string, to move those points slightly forward or back. So what these guys are going to do now is simply use a fret crowning file. Actually works great for this, to crown this. So end scene. Okay, so while these guys are working on their saddles over here, crowning them, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the program here. I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I kind of hinted at the fact that this is not an ordinary class. These two guys are special operators in the U.S. military, and they're here for a special program run by a nonprofit called Reveille Guitar Project. And actually, Benjamin Channels right here is not only a special operator, but he is also the founder of said project.
Thanks again to Eric Schaefer for partnering with us. We are Reveille Guitar Project, and our mission is to empower special operators through the art of guitar building. A lot of us that have military backgrounds, specifically in the special operations community, have dealt with PTSD, TBIs, traumatic brain injuries, depression, all sorts of things that there just are not many resources out there, and if there are resources, sometimes they're hard to come by. There are 47,000 plus veteran service organizations and maybe hundreds that are involved with music. There are 0 that are teaching veterans how to build acoustic guitars, so we are unique in that sense. What's great about Reveille Guitar Project today is that 100% of our funds will go towards a special operator attending an Eric Schaefer 8-day acoustic guitar building course. And so this brings 2 participants in, and they go through the full process of where they walk out with their own acoustic guitar, learning to build resilience within themselves and being able to open up that creative door that for most of their career, likely they have not had an opportunity to express. So it gets them here and in this environment, and it's relatively isolated, which is all part of the experience, and very positive part of this is being able to shut out the rest of the world while you focus on your craft.
And you've already had 3 special operators come through here, so the model works. It's literally already happening right now, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So we call it a proof of concept, and we've shown impact, and now we're taking it to that next level where we want to continue sending folks through the course.
Ben, would it be safe to say that anyone who doesn't donate hates America?
I would say that if you don't, I think helping, yeah, I would say that. I've found that combining music, woodworking as part of a healing process is such a powerful vehicle helping our community. So that's who we are and what we exist to do. How now, brown cow? How now, brown cow? Is that a little bit better?
That was great. All right, Ben, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I have no idea. Yeah, so we are chamfering the holes here because we're obviously going to put then strings down in there, and I'm using this chamfer tool, which is retail at $7,000 online. You can only get it one spot. But yeah, just essentially just making sure that we're getting it level down to the board. We're not forcing it in, down to the bridge rather, and yeah, this is a good example of correctly how to do it.
All right, and so Matt here is reaming the bridge pin holes because originally we drilled the holes at 3/16 of an inch, but bridge pins are tapered, either 3 degree or 5 degree. So you have to always make sure you match your reamer to your pins. We've got 3 degree pins, so we're using a 3 degree reamer. So what we're gonna do next is more reamers. We have a larger reamer, specifically tapered for our tuning keys, which are Goto 510 minis in gorgeous Cosmo Black. I really love that color, actually. And so we're going to, once again, this reamer goes a seriously long way, so just a single turn like that, you're gonna wanna not do any more than that before you check it. See how far it goes. Place it in there. Quarter to a half turn. Check it again until it's down flush.
It's not far off the E. Here, if you come a little, if you can get a real tight shot of my nut here, just get that real good. How many nuts would you say you filmed in your tenure? The E string or the E chord. About that. It's pretty awesome.
If you learned something here, please give this video a like and subscribe so you can be notified when I release a new DIY guitar making video. And if you want to really learn more, take one of my structured online courses at ericschaferguitars.com or register for a hands-on guitar building workshop here with me in Burnville, Pennsylvania.